Welcome to Motivate Me Now. This is episode 1, and we're diving deep into something that can either make you the life of the party or have you running for the nearest exit. That dreaded question.
Oh.
What are you really good at?
You know, it's funny because that seemingly simple question can really throw people off. It forces us to think about our value, what we bring to the table, and sometimes that can be a bit intimidating.
It's true. We're often so busy focusing on what we need to improve that we forget to acknowledge our awesome qualities, those strengths that make us unique. But figuring out your strengths is key. Why? Not just for success in your career or personal life, but also for feeling confident and motivated.
Absolutely. And what's fascinating is that this deep dive isn't just about identifying those strengths. It's also about reframing how we view our so-called weaknesses.
Okay, let's unpack this. The material we've prepped for you today is like a personal development cheat sheet. And one of the first things that jumped out at me was this idea of appreciating the effort you're already putting in.
Right. Just by being here, taking the time to learn and grow, you're demonstrating a commitment to yourself. That's a strength in itself.
I love that perspective.
Yeah.
It's like giving yourself a pat on the back before you even begin. And speaking of beginnings, this deep dive emphasizes the power of reflection. But not just any reflection. It's about getting really granular and intentional.
Exactly. One technique they suggest is journaling for a week about your daily activities. But here's the twist. You're not just writing about what you did. You're rating how much you enjoyed each activity on a scale of 1 to 5.
So it's not about whether you had a good or bad day overall. It's about pinpointing those specific moments where you felt energized, engaged, maybe even lost track of time.
And what's interesting here is that even seemingly mundane activities can reveal hidden strengths. Let's say you find yourself really enjoying organizing your desk or planning out your week in detail.
That could indicate a strength in organization, planning, maybe even a love of structure you might not have consciously recognized before.
Or perhaps you discover that you lose yourself in creative activities, like cooking or painting, even if you don't consider yourself an artist.
It's about recognizing those activities that bring you joy and then connecting them back to the strengths they reveal. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. There's this exercise called the Reflective Best Self exercise, and it's a total game changer.
This technique encourages you to step outside your own perspective and gather insights from people who know you well. You reach out to individuals from different areas of your life, work colleagues, friends, family members, and ask them to share specific examples of when they saw you using your strengths.
And the material specifically recommends using email for this, which I thought was a brilliant tip.
Why do you think that is?
Well, I think email provides a level of anonymity that encourages people to be more honest. In a face-to-face conversation, there might be a tendency to sugarcoat things, but in an email, people are more likely to give you their unfiltered observations.
That's a great point. It's about creating a safe space for people to share their genuine perceptions of you. And once you've gathered these responses, the key is to look for patterns. What common threads emerge? What strengths do multiple people highlight?
It's amazing what you can learn about yourself through the eyes of others. Maybe you always thought of yourself as shy, but several people mentioned your ability to stay calm and collected in stressful situations.
Right. Or maybe you've been downplaying your creativity, but multiple people rave about your unique problem-solving skills or your ability to think outside the box.
It's like getting a glimpse of your best self reflected back to you. And sometimes those reflections can be surprising, challenging even.
Yeah.
But ultimately, they offer valuable insights that you might have missed on your own.
And this is just the beginning of our deep dive. Remember, acknowledging your strengths is an important step in building confidence and motivation.
Don't forget to like, subscribe to our channel, and share this episode with your friends. Now, before we move on to the next phase of this journey, which involves reframing those weaknesses as areas for growth, I want to touch on another technique mentioned in the material. It's all about analyzing your actions in challenging situations.
It's fascinating how even in everyday situations, our strengths naturally come forward, expert speaker. This isn't about facing major life crises, expert speaker. It's about those little moments that reveal our natural tendencies.
So give me an example, host speaker. What kind of situation are we talking about?
But expert speaker, picture this expert speaker. You walk into a crowded room full of strangers, expert speaker. How do you react?
Okay, host speaker. I can see where you're going with this host speaker. Some people might immediately start chatting host speaker. Working the room. host speaker.
Yeah.
Making connections.
Exactly. Expert speaker. That could indicate a strength in social intelligence expert speaker. Maybe even extroversion expert speaker. They thrive in those environments. Expert speaker. Effortlessly building rapport.
While someone else might hang back a bit, host speaker. Observing the dynamics, host speaker. Maybe gravitating towards a smaller group or a single person for a deeper conversation.
And that could point to a strength in observation expert speaker. Active listening expert speaker. Maybe even introversion expert speaker. They gain energy from those more intimate interactions.
It's amazing how even something as simple as entering a room can reveal so much about our natural inclinations. Host speaker, and the key host speaker, like you said, host speaker, is not judging those reactions as good or bad, but understanding what they reveal about our strengths.
Precisely. Expert speaker. And here's where it gets even more nuanced, expert speaker. The material points out that strengths can have trade-offs.
What does that mean exactly?
Well, expert speaker. Let's take the example of someone who is highly analytical expert speaker. They might excel at breaking down complex problems, expert speaker, thinking logically, expert speaker, seeing patterns others miss.
That's definitely a valuable strength in many fields.
Absolutely, expert speaker. But the trade-off might be that they sometimes struggle to connect with people on an emotional level, expert speaker. Their focus on logic might make it harder to navigate the nuances of emotions or social cues.
So it's not about saying one strength is better than another host speaker. It's about understanding that each strength comes with its own set of advantages and potential challenges.
Exactly. Expert speaker. And that awareness can be incredibly empowering, expert speaker. It allows you to leverage your strengths strategically while also being mindful of those areas where you might need to develop different approaches.
This is all making me think about how important this kind of self-awareness is in a job interview host speaker. Because let's face it, host speaker, that dreaded question about strengths and weaknesses is almost inevitable.
And it ties into what we were just discussing, expert speaker. Honesty and confidence are key.
Yes, host speaker. Because when you're asked about your strengths, host speaker, it's not about bragging or putting on a show, host speaker. It's about showcasing that you have a deep understanding of yourself and what you bring to the table.
And when it comes to those areas for growth, expert speaker. And I love how this material encourages us to ditch the word weaknesses, expert speaker. It's about being authentic and showing that you're committed to continuous improvement.
Because let's be real, host speaker. Everyone has areas where they can grow, host speaker. Trying to pretend you're perfect is just going to come across as inauthentic.
What's fascinating is that interviewers can often see right through those canned responses, expert speaker, like, I'm too much of a perfectionist, or I work too hard.
Ooh, host speaker, yes. Host speaker, those are such cliches, host speaker. And they don't really tell the interviewer anything meaningful about you.
Instead, expert speaker. Focus on sharing concrete examples of how you're tackling those challenges. Expert speaker. Maybe you're naturally shy, but you've been pushing yourself to speak up more in meetings, expert speaker. Or perhaps you struggle with time management, but you've implemented a new system to stay organized.
That shows initiative, host speaker, self-awareness, host speaker, and a willingness to grow, host speaker, which are all qualities that employers value.
And remember, expert speaker, this process of identifying your strength and areas for growth isn't a one-time event, expert speaker. It's an ongoing journey of self-discovery.
As we learn and grow, host speaker, new talents will emerge, host speaker. And what we once perceived as limitations might become strengths, host speaker. It's like our potential is constantly evolving.
Exactly. Expert speaker. And by making self-reflection a regular practice, expert speaker, we can unlock a more motivated and fulfilling life, expert speaker. And speaking of unlocking potential, expert speaker, there's one more area we need to explore, expert speaker. The material delves into the idea of uncovering your desires as a way to identify your strengths.
Okay, host speaker. This sounds intriguing. Host speaker, tell me more.
Think about it this way, expert speaker. What are those activities that make you lose track of time? Expert speaker. Those goals that keep you motivated. Expert speaker. Even when things get tough. Expert speaker. Those passions that light you up from the inside out.
Those are often indicators of our strengths. Host speaker. Right. Host speaker. Because when we're truly engaged in something we love, host speaker, our natural talents shine through.
Exactly. Expert speaker. And the material encourages us not to dismiss those childhood dreams or those fleeting thoughts about what if. Expert speaker. They often hold clues to our natural inclinations.
So host speaker. Let's say someone always dreamed of writing a novel but never pursued it because they thought it was impractical or unrealistic.
That desire itself could be a sign of a strength and storytelling expert speaker, creativity expert speaker, or even perseverance expert speaker. It's about recognizing those whispers of longing and exploring where they might lead.
I love that. Host speaker. It's like giving yourself permission to dream big and then using those dreams as a roadmap to uncover your hidden potential.
And sometimes expert speaker. Those dreams might lead us to unexpected places, expert speaker. Maybe that childhood fascination with science fiction translates into a passion for coding or a career in aerospace engineering.
Or maybe that love of baking cookies turns into a thriving business or a fulfilling way to connect with your community.
It's about recognizing that our strengths can manifest in countless ways, expert speaker. And the journey of discovering them is often as rewarding as the destination itself.
Don't forget to like Host Speaker, subscribe to our channel, Host Speaker, and share this episode with your friends, Host Speaker. This deep dive has been so insightful so far, Host Speaker, and I can't wait to hear what else you've uncovered in the material. So we've talked about journaling, the reflective best self exercise, analyzing our actions, and even paying attention to our deepest desires. Is there anything else in this material that stood out to you?
You know what's really resonating with me is this idea of reframing weaknesses as areas for growth. It's such a simple shift in language,
Right.
but it has profound implications for how we view ourselves and our potential.
I completely agree. It's so much more empowering to focus on what we can develop rather than dwelling on what we perceive as lacking. But I'm curious, how do we actually put this into practice? How do we identify those areas for growth without getting bogged down in self-criticism?
Well, the first step is to simply acknowledge that everyone has areas where they can improve. It's part of being human. Nobody is perfect, and that's okay. In fact, it's those imperfections that make us interesting and unique.
So true. And the material actually suggests that sometimes what we perceive as a weakness is simply a sign that a particular activity or skill set just isn't a good fit for us.
Exactly. Maybe you've always struggled with public speaking, and you've labeled yourself as bad at communication. But what if, instead of forcing yourself to fit into that mold, you explore other forms of communication that play to your strengths?
Like writing,
Yeah.
visual communication,
Yeah.
or even one-on-one conversations where you can really shine.
Precisely. It's about recognizing that our talents can manifest in diverse ways, and it's okay to focus on those areas where we naturally excel.
That's such a liberating perspective. It takes the pressure off trying to be good at everything and allows us to celebrate our unique strengths. But let's be real. There are times when we do need to improve in areas that might not come naturally to us. Maybe it's a skill we need for our job or a personal challenge we want to overcome. How do we approach those areas for growth in a positive and productive way?
One of the most effective strategies is to reframe those areas as opportunities for learning and development. Instead of seeing them as weaknesses, view them as challenges that you're excited to tackle.
So it's about shifting our mindset from I'm bad at this to I'm learning how to do this.
Exactly. And that simple shift in perspective can make a huge difference. It transforms those areas for growth from something to be feared or avoided into exciting opportunities for personal development.
The material also emphasizes the importance of focusing on our strengths first. Why do you think that's so crucial?
Well, when we focus on what we're already good at, it boosts our confidence and creates a positive momentum that can carry over into those areas where we want to improve. It's like building a solid foundation from which to grow.
So it's not about ignoring those areas for growth altogether. It's about approaching them from a place of strength and self-assurance.
Exactly. And as we develop our strengths, we might find that those areas for growth become less daunting. Maybe as you gain confidence in your writing skills, you're more willing to try public speaking, knowing that you have a strong foundation in communication.
Or perhaps as you become more comfortable with your analytical abilities, you start to see the value in developing your emotional intelligence, realizing that both are essential for effective leadership.
It's all about recognizing that personal growth is an ongoing journey. And it's a journey that's best approached with a positive and proactive mindset.
This has been such a rich and insightful conversation. I feel like I have a whole new toolkit for uncovering my strengths and approaching those areas for growth with a sense of excitement and possibility. What are your final takeaways from this deep dive?
For me, the biggest takeaway is the importance of self-awareness. Taking the time to understand our strengths, our values, and even those areas where we want to grow is essential for living a fulfilling and authentic life.
I couldn't agree more. And the beautiful thing is that this journey of self-discovery never ends. As we learn and grow, new insights will emerge, and our strengths will continue to evolve. It's an exciting process.
And remember, you are already amazing just the way you are. Embrace your strengths, celebrate your unique qualities, and approach those areas for growth with curiosity and a willingness to learn.
This has been such an inspiring start to Motivate Me Now. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive.
It's been my pleasure.
And to all of you listening, thank you for being here. Don't forget to like, subscribe to our channel, and share this episode with your friends.
We're so excited to be on this journey with you.
Thanks for listening to Motivate Me Now.